People find my videos so exciting, they just can't help themselves. This is the 2015 Honda Fit, or the new and improved 2015 Honda Fit, as Honda would tell you. Even though this is a real compact, we have 4 doors for allegedly fitting 4 people inside here. We'll take a look inside and see how that works. It does have a hatchback. And here's the space you get behind the seats. And these seats do fold down, by the way, to make more room. We actually do get a real spare tire underneath here. Now, it's hard to believe there is actually room in the second row seats for full-size adults, 2 to be exact. However, if you're not putting people back here, the lower seats have a little trick for you. They fold up like so, and both seats can go up like so again. Nice place to take a little nap. Now, under the hood we get a tiny little engine. However, with Honda racing technology, it cranks out 130 horsepower quite well. This is the only engine available, but the only one you really need. Now, last year you had 2 outdated transmission choices: a 5-speed manual, which wasn't a good idea when most vehicles are going up to 6 speeds, and a 5-speed automatic, which wasn't any better. This year we get a CVT automatic to replace the 5-speed automatic, and a 6-speed manual to replace the 5-speed manual. But it's very, very important that you know the difference between the 2 transmissions before you buy this car. It makes a big difference in performance. Now, the CVT automatic does provide the best gas mileage at 32 to 38 miles per gallon, with an overall average of 35. That's the good news. The bad news is it is a bit sluggish, like most CVT automatic boxes. Now, to assist in performance on the CVT, we have 2 things. First, we have the sport mode that you can shift down into, which livens things up a bit. We also get paddle shifters on the steering wheel, which simulate 6 different gears, which helps in passing on the freeway. Now, if you get the 6-speed manual transmission, it's geared differently, more for performance, so you're going to knock a second off the 0 to 60 time. Unfortunately, the gas mileage drops to 29 in the city to 37 on the highway, with an average of 32, down from 35. Also, for highway driving, with the CVT running at highway speeds 70 to 80 miles per hour, the engine revs stay around 2,500 RPM on the average. But with the 6-speed manual, you're just up to around the 4,000 RPM, which of course uses more gas, more wear and tear on the engine, and engine noise. So here's the bottom line: if you're doing lots of city traffic, then the 6-speed manual might be worth a slight loss in fuel economy. But if you're doing a lot of highway or interstate trips, or local expressways, maybe the CVT will be a better choice for you. But you need to know the difference before you get the vehicle. Now let's look at the interior and go over the good points and bad points. The gauge cluster is very easy to read. Instruments large. Lots of useful information on the right pod there with the fuel economy and range of the gas tank. The glove box size is adequate if you take the owner's manual out and jab it down in the door, as you see here. I have mixed emotions about this little console storage bin. It's way too small, and what really bugs me is they had lots of room to make a bigger one. This brake handle doesn't need to be here. It could be down here on the floor. And these 2 switches don't need to be here. They could be under the dash. So they had lots of room here and they wasted it. Oh well, maybe next year. Now, the climate control system is absolutely perfect the way it should be. 3 simple knobs: temperature, fan speed, and the vent control. This is all you need on cars, folks. You don't need all this fancy computer, my touch, this touch stuff. This should be on every car on the planet. But apparently the manufacturers don't get a clue, but at least we do on the Honda Fit. A total thumbs up for this. Unfortunately, the simplicity of the climate control did not carry over to the audio system. Instead of a simple volume knob on the left and tuning knob on the right, we get this ridiculous touch system, which works okay if you're sitting here like I am, and in driving it's a nightmare to sit there and find that little touch thing. If you have gloves, forget it. Plus, if I have to spend a half an hour reading the owner's manual to learn how to preset stations, that's not good. This is too complex to use and a pain in the butt. Fortunately, on the deluxe models, you can change the stations and the volume by touching the steering wheel, which eliminates the problem, but you have to pay extra for this. Well worth it, by the way. And my third pet peeve, the sun visors do not slide back and forth, so you have this big gap in the window where the sun's going to come through and burn your face on that hot summer day. I mean, I don't get it. How hard could it be to give a sliding sun visor? This needs to be changed. And you can see the difference behind the sun visor and the gap in the window, and I'm being blasted by sun rays. Nice if you want a tan, but after so long you get burned, you know. Fix this, Honda, please. Now, as far as drivability, the Fit has a lot of good features. The steering's quick and responsive, if not perfect. Cornering ability is pretty good for an eco car. And the brakes work pretty well. Now, the engine power is more than adequate, although I think the lightness of the car has more to contribute to that than the actual power. However, this engine is noisy. And with the droning of the CVT, it doesn't get any better. Now, before I got this vehicle, I read a lot of reviews on the web from other writers, and what really puzzled me is that nobody wanted to talk about the ride quality. They talked about the improvements in the suspension as far as parts, but they didn't want to talk about the ride quality. Now, there was one exception on the website cars.com where some young greenhorn assured us that this ride was very, very smooth, and I don't know what his experience is, but obviously with not too many cars to compare, because the ride on this car is not very, very smooth. Now, in all fairness, this is an economy car, not a luxury limousine. And if you're using it just for city commuting, you'll probably be okay. But if you live in a town where the potholes are the size of moon craters, you might want to take a test drive and see what your tolerance level is. And yes, I did check the tire pressures. They recommend 32, and these are down to around 30, so it's about as smooth as it's going to get. Also might mention these are the optional 16-inch tires and wheels. The stripper base car comes with 15-inch tires and wheels, and I haven't tried that model yet. Perhaps it's a little bit smoother. Again, when you take a test drive, this is one thing to look out for. Now, for those interested in fuel consumption, I've been doing a lot of heavy city traffic, and my mileage is at 31.7 miles per gallon. Pretty good considering how I was driving. And by the way, there is an eco button down here that supposedly increases gas mileage, but I don't use that. It's been my experience they really hurt performance and cut off the air conditioning performance, and I prefer to have air conditioning performance. But if economy is important to you, you might do better hitting this. I'm not. Now, a few notes of driving at night. This navigation system is just impossible to use with these tiny little push buttons. The car bouncing around, it just doesn't work very well. Give me some knobs, please. On the positive side, one feature I do like, you turn on the right turn signal and the camera comes on, showing everything on the right side of the vehicle, so you don't have to use that dinky mirror. Too bad they don't have a camera on the left too. Now, if you're driving at night, it's a good idea to know what the headlight performance is. So on the Honda Fit, we're going to look at the lights with the brights on. Very impressive. Really reaches out there. Now with the low beams on, again impressive, reaches out quite a distance. So it passes the test as far as I'm concerned. We'll be doing more of these headlight tests in the future because you'll be amazed of the number of horrible systems that are out there. What really amazes me is that the worst ones are on the more expensive cars, especially the European brands. So stay tuned. Now just to note, I did a 13.2 mile trip running around 50 to 55 miles per hour on the city expressway, and I'm showing 41.3 miles per gallon, which I suspect is going to be the best I'll ever see. And it was under ideal conditions. But it happened, so I got to show it to you. Now, at the beginning of the video, I was complaining about the ride quality, which I found to be a bit on the stiff side. And it still is, but I'm getting used to it, so it doesn't seem as bad as it was. We'll drive over these railroad tracks and see how it works out. And not too bad. I'm getting used to it. But the engine's still a little noisy on the acceleration side. And we still get good brakes. Now, the base price of a 2015 Honda Fit starts around $16,000 for a stripped model. This is the EXL model, which has just about every option standard, from navigation, tilt wheel, heated seats. You see the list here, which is too long to read. And that only bumps the price up to $20,800 plus shipping, for a total of $21,590. This brings up another point. I've noticed over years in testing many cars that if you get a $30,000, $40,000 car that's stripped and you add all the options like navigation, stereo, heated seats, and the like, it suddenly jumps the price up another $15,000. But when you get a car in this price range and you load it up with everything, you're talking maybe $3,000 or $4,000. The point I'm making is this: if you're really hard up for money, the $16,000 Honda Fit's going to serve you well. But I suggest you just get the fully loaded one like this. I mean, it's only $3 or $4 grand more, so what's that? Another year in payments? We're talking about a Honda, so it's going to last around 15 to 20 years anyway. So just stretch the payments out another year and get the $21,000 model. Enjoy yourself when you're driving. At least that's the way I look at it. Whichever model you get, the stripped one or the loaded one, I think this is a very nice car. Yes, there were some minor complaints with the slightly stiff ride and the sun visors and the radio controls, but these are minor. Overall, you have a nice quality car. It's going to last a while. You get mileage near the hybrid cars, and there's lots of room inside for hauling people and gear. So if you're looking for a vehicle in the $20,000 or below market, the Honda Fit is definitely worth a look.